Tonight on Student News, we take a look back at the last 4 years of the show and what it was like to put together.
In this season finale, through interviews with current and former crew members and those close to the show, we will trace its genesis and development over the last 4 years. It's June 11th, 2012, and Student News starts right now. Good evening, I'm Joshua Wolfson.
And I'm Giovanna Robinson-Heides. Welcome to the season finale of Student News. Tonight's episode is the last show that Student News' original production team, including Josh and myself, will be a part of producing. Given this reality, tonight the story we are going to examine is the story of the show itself, its creation, its development, its production team, and what it has been like to produce over the last 4 years.
To accomplish this, next year's Student News team, including Zoe Langsdale, Jamin Olmstead, Amutha Muthakumar, Hannah Viederman, Will Viederman, Isabel Jackson, Shira Zilberstein, Elizabeth Ortiz, and Rachel Musanti, dug into some old footage and sat down with former and current members of the production team to tell this story. Take a look. All right, we're here at ACTV. For our pre-shooting thing, so I'm just gonna take you around a little bit. We're in the control room.
You can flip the thingy and actually look at yourself.
I know, I just did that.
Yeah,
We're in the control room. Here's Graham. He's our lighting guy.
I'm your lighting guy.
I'm your sound guy.
I am your lighting guy.
We're going behind the scenes.
I left their masculine voice on. Sorry.
It's like your mangled body.
And,
See, now they no longer sound masculine.
And here's Mr. Brewer. He's working on some graphics for us.
I had cheese.
Some horribly painful graphics.
Horrible, painful graphics. And now we're gonna walk back. We're walking into the studio. It's gonna get very dark. 5, 4, 3, 2. Unless you've been asleep for the last month, you know that on January 20th, 2009, Barack Obama was inaugurated as the 44th President of the United States of America.
Not only was the inauguration historic because Barack Obama is the first African-American president, but he also raised records amount of money during his campaign and inspired and energized the younger generation in a new way.
Student News was on the scene. Here is our coverage. So Student News started, its genesis came about when I was in 8th grade, which would be 5 years ago now. Because in 8th grade, Reed Elkington and I, who was the co-founder of Student News and the first co-anchor of Student News, he and I were both working on the middle school newspaper at the time, the Chestnut Street Journal, I remember it was called. One of the things, we'd come out every 2 or 3 months or so, and we were both interested in politics, we were both interested in doing the news, in a number of things, but we had this run-in, one might call it, with the middle school administration, and people might remember this a little bit. But there was a group of us who did a poll. We polled 175 students in the middle school about their views on the middle school. We asked them about whether they felt that the school was meeting its vision statement or, even attempting to. We asked them about what they thought of the disciplinary policies at the middle school, and we asked them about whether they thought that their voices were heard and listened to in the administration. And of those 175 out of 600 students, so this wasn't, us just going around to our friends, it was 175 people. I don't have 175 friends. We found not so flattering results. And one of the things that they responded with was that they basically tried to censor the paper, and Reed and I were two of the people, also reporters who've reported for Student News, Sam Duncan and Tess Sadoff, we went, and Louisa Levine, who was on one of the recent shows. Anyway, we all went to the ACLU and basically said, can they do this? And the ACLU said, no, they can't censor the things that you're trying to print. And so we had a little altercation and we printed it. But basically, Student News was in a way founded out of a desire on my part especially, but certainly on Reed's as well, a desire to have a place where we could air our opinions, where we could air our news without, as it seemed at the time, those meddling administrators getting involved.
I've been with the Student News team basically from the beginning. Josh came up to me in 9th grade after he had briefly mentioned maybe wanting to do a news type of show after our second short film, The Paper, had debuted at ACTV. And he said, Graham, I want you to be part of this team. Let's get together and chat about it. So we did, and it was a happy 4 years.
When we set out, it was sort of, we had all of these ideas that, we'll start out monthly, but, we'll ramp our way up to, once every other week, and we'll get more regular, and we will, we'll outsource the reporting to other people. We'll outsource it to clubs. Clubs will certainly want to do features on themselves for the show, and so we'll say to them, hey, we'll broadcast your stuff, or we'll hand it out to reporters who aren't really affiliated with us, and they'll do it autonomously, and then we'll get the footage and we'll just put it together. But that wasn't at all what it turned out to be, thank God.
The way we originally did it was like we wrote a story, or like an editorial, and then we also had some segments, but coming up with those editorials was a struggle, and a lot of the times they were done last minute, and only Josh did them, even though we had a whole bunch of writers, supposedly.
We've had an enormous amount of success in putting together shows from a sort of a central standpoint in what is going to be on the screen during the show, what do we want on the screen, which in some ways makes us less of a news show than perhaps more of a feature magazine-style investigative reporting show. But I think deep down that's sort of always where we wanted to be.
One of my favorite memories that will always stick with me, and that has physically stuck with me as well, is on the first shoot when I was executive producer, my first time. Some people started calling me the queen of the control room because I was going to be kind of directing the control room from behind the scenes, which is why I'm never in front of the screens and where I've been this whole time. And so Charles Brewer, who was our director of photography for a long time, and Joshua and Graham and Bartow all decided that they needed to get me a crown before the shoot. And I had no idea about any of this. And so I show up at the shoot, and Josh says, go into the other room, and then he brings me back, and he goes, close your eyes. And then he places this, plastic, furry princess crown on my head, and he says, you are queen of the control room. And to this day, that still sits on my dresser.
Right around the middle of the second season, when this would be 2010, when Phoebe Prince committed suicide, Tess Sadoff came in and did a spectacular piece for the show, which I think really put us on the map in a different way than we had been before. That was the February episode in 2010, and we also had an interview with Stan Rosenberg in that episode. So it was a marquee episode for us. But she went and she just went around with her flip cam and she just interviewed students. And up until that point, we'd been doing, feature pieces on different clubs and organizations, and we'd done splicing together of interviews with students, but we'd never gone out explicitly and just gone, here, we're just going to stick a camera in someone's face, and it doesn't really, we're going to hear what they're going to say, and we're not going to try and, create this story and then, fit their comments into it. We are just asking them what they think.
One of my favorite non-controversial interviews, which is lovely, was interviewing Mark Jackson. Every time I've talked to him has just been yielded a great conversation and yielded beautiful insights, and I really respect that man.
The first time that I saw an episode air, episode 1, season 1 of Student News. When that came on ACTV, that was something special. Because it's one thing to, it's completely different from going to school every day and working on papers and worksheets and projects and then handing them into a teacher and getting a grade. And it's completely different to go into a business or a building like ACTV and talk to the people working there and to film your shoot and to get the segments together and edit them and put them together. And to put all this work into it and then see it come to fruition in a totally different form over the airwaves.
The ups are definitely when you end up producing something that other people recognize as outstanding. And not that you should always feel better if other people justify something, but that is an extra bump when you produce an episode that other people start talking about and that really gets viewers going. And so as a team, that's very empowering. And as a team, when you really make a goal to improve something and get excited about it and never do what's easy or what's boring, because that's easy and boring for everyone and therefore not exciting. That's important too. And the downs are always balances of power are tough. Balances of leadership are tough. It's really hard to get people going sometimes. And just you want to make sure that what you're doing is something that people can be proud of and that people are excited to make. And that's really important.
I think one of the faults that we had in the early years was that we were trying to be what we thought people would respond to, rather than being exactly what it is that we wanted to be and what we were. We kept trying to do these nose-to-nose segments where we'd be like, oh, and I'm sort of ashamed looking back at it, because after doing this season so much actual discussion, we'd sort of pick two people and we'd go, okay, we want to have a debate about this issue, so hopefully you guys disagree on this, but if you don't, sort of prep different sides so that we can get both sides of the argument. Sort of that awful 24-hour news network way of pitting people against each other and setting up two sides without actually looking at the issue in a nuanced way.
Being able to work within a team and be under somebody but also above somebody else, like the ranking system was really hard in the beginning, and I never knew where I stood or how much control I could have. And I think one of the things that I really learned was being able to work collaboratively but also being able to be in charge of some things and delegate some other things and be under somebody else and having them tell me what to do.
Briefly, Student News, for me, was a place where I could discover things about the cool stuff that youth were doing. It was a place where I could learn how to edit, how to compile videos, how to tell a story. Student News was a place where I could get together with some friends and hang out outside of school and make something that we could all be proud of. But I think above all, Student News, it was really learning how to work in a way and work with other people and how to apply myself to things that I may not have been comfortable with, or taking risks and adapting to new challenges. And I'm incredibly grateful for that.
It's been my rock, basically. It kind of takes over your life, and it's much, much more than a commitment or something that takes up, you go to it for a couple hours a week and then you're done with it. It's something that totally soaks into everything, and you're always on the month-long cycle of, okay, when is the next deadline? What do I have to do? What do I have to plan? So it means a lot in day-to-day life, and also it just means a lot in the fact that you're in charge of producing something and you're doing it with all the responsibility. It's really something else when you kind of dive into the deep end and see if you can float.
You gotta love it. Honestly, if you don't like it and you don't enjoy it, it's really hard to get motivated and get up and do all this stuff. But when you do love it, you love it, and then go for it and really take time in what you're doing and think about it.
Student News has taught me a lot of things. Student News has taught me how to do television. Student News has taught me how to read a teleprompter. Student News has taught me how to write news. But I think probably more than anything else, Student News has taught me two things, or augmented my training in two different areas. One of which is working with groups and organizing. I would say that one person can do a lot, but a group together can do so much more. And I think that's part of why you've seen such a ramp up in quality of student news this year.
I think what I'm really going to take away from student news is the intense sense of being on a team, of being a cog in a machine. And I say that in the most human way possible, right? Because it's not like I perform a certain function and nothing else. No, it's student news. You're a very dynamic part in a machine. You can put out a new spoke if necessary, if the analogy stretches that far. But I think student news has imbued in me a certain sense of how an efficient team works, how there's a certain leadership structure, but that can change, and that people can certainly be open to doing new things, being able to take risks, and encouraging people to take those risks. And in the end, it's all about collaboration. There's a real sense of what I'm looking for in an academic environment, certainly, and what I think has sort of emerged in student news, is that there's a real sense of collaboration rather than competition. I think that's very helpful.
I'm really glad that student news is continuing. A couple months before a bunch of the new people joined us, such as yourself, Josh and I were really talking about doing some really vigorous recruiting, and we were having a lot of trouble with it. And we had been talking about that for at least a year, and it wasn't really working out when we set our minds to it. As soon as we decided that if someone wanted to continue it, they would, and if someone didn't, then it would just be what it was. Everyone kind of came to us, and so that made us very happy. What we hope for its future is that it takes on whatever incarnation is best for it. It doesn't need to be the same thing as it was. It's always, change is positive, and we really encourage the next generations to do what they want with it and to make it what the community needs and what they need to keep things exciting and to keep things fresh. As long as people stay excited about it, and as long as it never gets stagnant, I will be happy. I will be proud of student news.
The power of students, because honestly, the number of people, including people I live with, who told me, who sort of reined back my expectations from the very beginning when I said, oh, hey, we're going to run this news show. They went, okay, but be prepared for failure. And then the number of people, those were the people I lived with who were actually incredibly encouraging. But then, all of the other people who were like, you're gonna run a, expletive news show? Like, are you kidding me? People don't think that teens can do things. People in the world don't think that they can do things. And they generally, adults don't think that they can, the number of adults who live inside their own bubbles of fear and complacency because they don't think that they can go out and do this, do student news or do whatever it is that they want to do. It's a staggering number. It's a staggering number. And half of the battle in doing something that no one else has done before is just going, well, just because someone else hasn't done it before doesn't mean that we can't do it. No one else in the country, to our knowledge, has produced, no other students in the country have produced an all-student run, no adult overseen news show regularly. They've done it through schools, they've done it sporadically online, but nothing in the way that student news has for 4 years, every single month, come out with new shows on a regular schedule. And that's stunning, but it's also just a matter of, you have to set up, you have to break down that wall in your mind, and I think the people on our staff have done an immense job of doing this for themselves, and it's one of those things where where you just sort of have to, you just have to do it if you're going to accomplish things, is you have to go, okay, I may fail, but that's not the end of the world. There's that great bumper sticker. What would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail? Well, what would you do if you knew that you could fail, but you might also succeed greatly? And you have to be willing to take that risk. Also knowing that failure is probably a bad way to describe something not working. So anyway, just that's the other thing, is that you have to have confidence, and you have to have gall and chutzpah, and you have to know that when you're doing something revolutionary, or when you're doing something that no one else has done before, that people are scared by. The number of people who come up to me and go, "Student News, where's your adult supervisor?" And I go, "We don't have one." And they go, "What?" When you're doing something that no one else has ever heard of, they're going to say you can't do it because no one's seen it done before. But that's the opportunity. That's the moment for you. And it may not work, and you should always keep reality right at the front of your mind, because, you have to, we weren't ever going to be CNN, and that's something that we had to learn and we had to respect. But that didn't mean that we couldn't produce an incredible, amazing show every single month for 4 years. And that I think is the greatest moral, and that you have to have in your sight that which you want to accomplish, and believe wholeheartedly that you can accomplish it.
Thanks to next year's team for sitting down with all of us. Now, before we close out the season finale, next year's team would like to give you a little taste of what Student News is going to be like in the fall. Take a look.
Hi, my name is Jamin Olmstead.
And I'm Isabel Jackson.
We are looking forward to anchoring Student News next year.
We plan on continuing to bring you compelling stories from our high school and the local community.
As the original production team moves on to the next chapter of their lives, we are looking to build upon the foundation they have laid, while adding our own spin to truly make the show our own.
As we look to our next year, here is our production team.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Ortiz, and I'm going to be a junior next year.
Hi, I'm Will Viederman, and I'm going to be a senior.
Hi, I'm Zoe Langsdale, and I'm going to be a senior.
And I'm Hannah Viederman, and I'm going to be a junior. We can't wait to begin working on the new season, and we're excited to see you in the fall.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to next year's team for that teaser. Well, this is it for me as a producer and anchor of Student News. And this is it for the team that set out 4 years ago and started something that, to the best of our knowledge, had never been attempted before in this country. We saw it as 14 and 15-year-olds to produce our own regular news show without any adult supervision or oversight. Tonight's show has well documented exactly how we did it and what the struggles and successes were like in producing this show. But looking back over the last 35 times I've sat at this desk with you, I can't help but wonder, what exactly is this show? Yes, it's a news show. And yes, it's youth run. But for me, that does not make up the entirety of what Student News was and will continue to be in the following years. For anyone that has watched the show since February 2009, you will know that the last 4 years have not just been news. They've been full of editorial, opinion, debates, features, condemnations, exonerations, advocacy, intellectual discussion, and it has been a megaphone for the views of those people that are so often ignored in the news and debates. It is near impossible to simply describe exactly what Student News is, for it has encompassed and covered so many different things. But for me, above all, Student News has been the place where our guests, our reporters and producers, and you, our viewers, come together in good faith to explore the issues of the day, the topics that no one is paying attention to, and the ideas and people that we care about. I do not mean to exaggerate the successes of Student News. We have not been perfect, and there have certainly been times when, due to exhaustion or time constraints or miscommunication, we have strayed from reaching those high standards of quality in content and production that we have set out for ourselves. Yet, in the era of jaded, spineless, straddle-the-fence media coverage, time and again, this show has lived up to those ideals of honesty, dogged pursuit of the truth, and moral conviction. This success is all due to the heart and soul of this show, its production team. From the very beginning of Student News and from the very beginning of Riverwolf Productions itself, Laura Nunnally, our lighting designer, morale booster, and one of my closest friends. Laura, you've made immense contributions to giving Student News the heart and soul that it has today. Thank you for everything. Charlie Bartow, intrepid website designer, cameraman, teleprompter runner, and former editor, you and I have been together from the very beginning. In preschool and at the middle school newspaper, you have been an incredible friend and have laid the structural groundwork for next year's team. Thank you. To Graham Churchill, associate producer, sound engineer, reporter, jack of all trades, and editor, you have had a hand in nearly everything that has been produced on this show over the past 4 years, and none of our coverage would have been possible without your dogged determination, reliability, and strong work ethic. Thank you for being an incredible friend and a courageous advocate of this show. Giovanna Robinson-Heides, from the very first episode, you have devoted incredible energy, skill, and passion to student news. Whether it was as a camera person, teleprompter runner, reporter, or sitting here at the desk next to me. It has been one of my greatest joys to anchor with you, and this show would, quite literally, never have happened all of those years ago without you. Jesse Chasen-Tabor, executive producer. Jesse, you're my rock. And yes, a godsend. I shouldn't forget that one. From that first day you walked into that student news meeting, I knew we needed you, that I needed you. You have produced this show with poise, skill, and heart, and you have kept me grounded and on task and on the right path more times than I'd care to say on television. You are my best friend, partner, and confidant, and Student News would not be Student News without you. Finally, one last thank you goes out to you, the viewers. As you can probably tell by now, we produce this show because we love it, but we also produce it for you. I hope you've enjoyed watching over these last 4 years. It has been an absolute pleasure to share the news, the opinions, the stories with you. Thank you.
And that's it for this season of Student News. If you'd like to learn more about what the show is going to be like in the fall or how to donate money, please visit our website at www.riverwolfproductions.org/studentnews. Signing off, I'm Giovanna Robinson-Heides.
And I'm Joshua Wolfson. Stay strong and stay proud. Good night.